You know, a lot of us like to give ourselves a little scare. Some watch horror movies, some read scary stories at night, and some get into urban exploring, checking out abandoned buildings. Places like that always have their own special vibe. It's quiet there, nobody around, just dust, concrete, and you. But the main danger of abandoned places isn't a collapsed floor, and it's not old wiring. The main danger is people. People who need a place where no one will find them. Today I'm going to tell you the story of Chris. He's a regular photographer who just happened to be in the wrong place and at the wrong time, and that night permanently killed his desire to wander through empty wastelands. Chris is in his early 30s, and he absolutely loved industrial photography. His signature thing was shooting old factories with long exposures, and specifically at night. So, that Friday, he drove to the outskirts of town, where the remains of an old concrete plant stood. The area hadn't been guarded in a long time. The fence was down in places. Basically, getting in was no trouble at all. Chris went up to the second floor of one of the unfinished warehouses, set up his tripod by a window without glass, and started shooting the empty courtyard. It was about 2 a.m. Absolute silence. Just the wind blowing through the empty floors. Chris was looking at his camera screen, checking the settings, when suddenly, he heard the sound of an engine. A regular, completely inconspicuous SUV slowly drove into the factory courtyard. The headlights immediately went out. Chris instinctively backed away from the window into the shadows. He thought, well, you never know. Security guards, scavengers, or drug dealers. Either way, running into them was definitely not in his plans. Chris decided to just wait it out, stand quietly until they left, but curiosity got the better of him. He carefully peeked out and looked into the courtyard through his camera lens. Good, expensive optics let him see everything plain as day, even in that kind of darkness. 2 men got out of the car. They opened the back door and pulled out a third. The guy was clearly terrified. His hands were tied behind his back. He was saying something quickly, erratically, begging them. You see, this wasn't like the movies at all. No long dialogues, no dramatic villain speeches. Everything happened very clumsily, quickly, and somehow terrifyingly mundane. One of the men opened the trunk and took out a regular, camping, hatchet. Chris realized what was about to happen. His heart just started pounding frantically. He couldn't believe he was seeing this in real life, literally a few hundred feet away from him. His hands reached for the camera on their own, and he pressed the shutter button. The man below swung and struck. No theatrical screams. The guy just went limp and fell to the concrete. Chris felt nausea rising in his throat. He backed away in a panic and wanted to leave quietly. But in the darkness, he caught his foot on the leg of his own tripod. The tripod tilted and slammed hard against the concrete wall. The sound wasn't exactly deafening, but in the dead night silence, it echoed throughout the entire factory. The men below instantly froze. They looked up, right at the floor where Chris was standing. One of them yelled, "Someone's up there," pulled a powerful flashlight from his pocket and started sweeping the beam across the windows. Chris knew, if they found him, he wouldn't make it out of there alive. The adrenaline just rushed to his head. He grabbed his camera, ditched the heavy tripod, and sprinted toward the stairs on the other side of the building as fast as he could. He heard the car doors slam below. These guys clearly weren't going to leave any witnesses, but the factory grounds were massive, and outside, it was pitch black. Chris didn't try to hide in the corners. That would be suicide. He just ran faster than he ever had in his life. He jumped through a gap in the fence, tore his jacket on some exposed rebar, and made it to his car, hidden in the bushes by the road. With shaking hands, he somehow got the key into the ignition, started the engine, and without even turning on the headlights, tore down the dirt road toward the highway. Only when he hit the lit highway did he allow himself to take a proper breath. Chris didn't go home. He drove straight to the central police station, put his camera on the desk sergeant's counter, and told them everything. The police took it seriously. They sent a patrol out right away. The body was indeed found in one of the abandoned pits at the factory. And on Chris's photos, despite the darkness, they were able to make out the license plate of that exact SUV. The criminals were arrested 3 days later. And you know what? It turned out to be a mundane criminal dispute over debts. No mystical maniacs, no monsters, just cruel people, solving their problems with horrific methods. Chris had to go in for interrogation several times and testify in court. The lawyers for those two tried to pressure him, but the photos were undeniable proof. The killers were put away for a long time. Yeah, you'd think a happy ending. The criminals are in jail. Chris is safe. But the human psyche works differently. Chris never picked up a camera to shoot at night again. He sold all his gear. Now he works in a bright studio, shooting portraits under glaring lights. And every night he checks if the door to his apartment is locked twice. Because the strongest fear isn't ghosts from horror movies. The strongest fear is the realization of just how thin the line is that separates our quiet lives from someone else's cruelty. Stay safe out there. Don't go walking in sketchy places at night. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.